Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate was an American cult that started in the 1970s. The founders believed they saw the end of the world coming in a vision. This group became known because they thought aliens were higher beings who could offer eternal life. The founders said that when the world faced doomsday, these aliens would save the cult members. They believed the aliens would take them onto their spaceship, where they could live forever. The cult was around for over 20 years. In 1997, when the Hale-Bopp comet was seen, the cult members thought the world was about to end. They believed it was time to leave their human bodies to join the aliens on the spaceship following the comet. This led to a tragic event where 39 members took their own lives, thinking they were going to a better place. But this wasn't the only cult with devastating consequences. How did another group use a mix of religious beliefs to justify extreme actions? Aum Shinrikyo. Aum Shinrikyo, also known as the Doomsday Cult, mixed beliefs from Buddhism and Hinduism with apocalyptic visions to form its unique doctrine. The cult attracted followers with its eclectic belief system. The leader of the cult, Asahara, was a charismatic man who could tell compelling stories. He convinced his followers that he could take on the world's sins, and that only those loyal to him would gain spiritual powers to cleanse themselves of sin. Asahara also preached that a nuclear war would soon destroy the planet, but his followers would survive. In 1995, Aum Shinrikyo was labeled an international terrorist group after it attacked the Tokyo subway with sarin gas. This deadly gas attack killed 13 people and injured many others. There were a couple of reasons behind this horrific act. Firstly, Asahara believed that triggering the end of the world would lead to his group's triumph. Secondly, he held a belief in karma, thinking that killing non-believers would prevent his followers from accumulating bad karma. However, this action backfired, bringing bad karma upon Asahara and his cult instead. After the attack, Asahara and other key members were arrested. While this did not stop all activities of the cult, it was a significant blow. In 2018, Asahara and 6 other members of the cult were executed. The cult's blend of religious beliefs and apocalyptic prophecy ultimately led to its downfall and the tragic events in Tokyo. Similar themes of manipulation can be seen in another cult that emerged around the same time, but half a world away. How did the People's Temple, under Jim Jones, mirror these disastrous patterns, and what led its followers to an even more horrifying end? The People's Temple. Jim Jones established the People's Temple in 1954, blending Christianity with communism and strongly promoting racial equality. This openness attracted a large and diverse group of followers. However, as the cult grew, so did scrutiny. Media investigations into questionable practices and allegations that the Bible was restrictive led to cult members harassing journalists. Government attention increased when Jones began pursuing defectors and supporting insurgent military groups. To escape the growing scrutiny, Jones moved over 900 followers to a settlement in Guyana, known as Jonestown. Here, they hoped to avoid outside interference. In 1978, U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan visited Jonestown following reports of abuse within the community. The visit ended tragically when Jones ordered the assassination of Ryan and a group of defectors. The following day, in a horrific turn of events, Jones coerced his followers to drink a cyanide-laced concoction. Over 900 people died, including those who resisted and were forcibly injected with cyanide. The tragic event concluded with Jones dying from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This was one of the darkest moments in religious cult history, with a massive loss of life driven by the manipulative control of a charismatic leader. Tragically, this was not an isolated case of a cult's destructive path. How did another group combine mystical beliefs with deadly outcomes? Let's find out. The Order of the Solar Temple. Luke J. and Joseph de Mambro founded the Order of the Solar Temple in Switzerland in 1984. Their new religion combined elements from New Age movements, Christianity, and UFO conspiracy theories, creating a unique belief system that drew in followers intrigued by extraterrestrial themes. Jay and Demambro taught that death was a transition to a mythical planet in the Sirius star system, where they could transcend human existence. They convinced their followers that mass suicide was a path to reach this otherworldly destination. In the mid-1990s, these beliefs led to tragic outcomes. The group conducted mass suicide rituals not only as a means to reach the mythical planet, but also to eliminate traitors and potential defectors within their ranks. In 1994, two devastating fires in Switzerland led to the grim discovery of the bodies of the cult's founders and several members. This event was followed by additional massacres carried out by surviving cult members, ultimately raising the death toll to 77. These mass suicides continued until authorities intervened, cracking down on the cult's activities and arresting its remaining leaders. This intervention brought an end to the tragic sequence of events initiated by the cult's extreme beliefs and practices. As we look at the influence of charismatic leaders over vulnerable followers, another damning example emerges from American history. What happens when this leader uses fear and manipulation to control his followers? This is the story of Charles Manson and his family. Manson family. Charles Manson, a struggling musician, formed a group known as the Manson family during the hippie era, which adopted cult-like beliefs and unconventional lifestyles. The group, primarily composed of young women, was drawn to Manson's charismatic leadership and his teachings, which were often influenced by the use of psychoactive drugs like LSD. Manson preached about an apocalyptic war he called Helter Skelter, envisioning brutal racial conflicts between black and white people. In 1969, Manson's apocalyptic vision led him to direct his followers to commit several murders, believing these acts would trigger the racial war he predicted. Among their victims was actress Sharon Tate. Manson thought that Tate's murder would heighten racial tensions, helping to fulfill his prophecy. Although Manson did not physically participate in the killings, he was the mastermind behind them. Manson was convicted of murder and conspiracy, linked to his role in orchestrating the killings. He spent many years in prison, with his life marked by repeated incarcerations. In 2017, Manson died of cardiac arrest at the age of 83 while still incarcerated. His story is a reminder of how charismatic leadership can spiral into devastating consequences. Similarly, halfway across the world, another group was forming under a different guise, but with potentially dangerous beliefs. What happens when this extreme religious group meets apocalyptic prophecy? Let's find out. The movement for the restoration of the Ten Commandments of God. In 1989, Credonia Mwerinde and Joseph Kibwetir founded a cult that emphasized the importance of the Ten Commandments, drawing in those with traditional beliefs. The members practiced extreme restraint, avoiding speaking, eating, or engaging in sexual activities to prevent breaking any commandments. The cult leaders also preached that the world would end on December 31st, 1999. To prepare, they demanded money and possessions from their followers, claiming this was the path to salvation. However, when the prophesied apocalypse did not occur, frustrated members demanded their money back. In a desperate move, the leaders set a new doomsday date, March 17, 2000. They organized a massive gathering at their compound to mark this new date, but the event turned tragic as the building was set ablaze, killing everyone inside. On the same night, both founders disappeared mysteriously. Following this horrific incident, Ugandan authorities conducted an investigation and discovered over 900 bodies across various properties related to the cult. These individuals had either been burned or poisoned. The investigation concluded that this was not a case of mass suicide, but rather a mass murder orchestrated by the leaders to cover up their failed doomsday predictions. In a similar vein, Another group emerged in the 1960s with practices and doctrines that pushed societal norms to their limits. Let's go into the history of the Children of God and explore how their controversial interpretations of spirituality led to widespread condemnation and scandal. The Children of God. Founded in 1968 by David Berg, the Children of God started as a Christian evangelical movement. However, Berg soon began interpreting the Bible in his unique way, leading the group to adopt practices that were unconventional and frowned upon by society, such as communal living, free love, and abundant sexual activity. The group's approach to recruitment involved using sex, which led to the coining of the term flirty fishing. At its height, the movement attracted tens of thousands of members, many of whom were young people drawn to the group's sexual openness. However, as these practices became more widely known, the group faced mainstream criticism, including serious allegations of abuse and exploitation. In response to this negative publicity, the cult underwent significant internal reforms and changed its name to the Family International, TFI. This new identity marked a shift away from previously criticized behaviors. Under its new name, TFI implemented rules aimed at protecting younger members from exploitation and officially discontinued flirty fishing. The group now portrays its members as soldiers in a spiritual war between good and evil, maintaining an openness to sexuality, which it interprets as part of an intimate relationship with Jesus Christ. While the cult still exists today, it no longer enjoys the vast following it once had during its peak years. The Anthill Kids. In 1977, the Anthill Kids cult was established in Canada by Roderil, who claimed to be a divine authority. He persuaded people to leave their jobs and join him in a community where they could listen to his teachings and live free of sin. However, the reality was far from peaceful. Roderil transformed the community into a place of suffering by enforcing brutal rituals like amputations and genital mutilation, which he believed purified the body and soul. Roderil ruled with an iron fist, controlling every aspect of the members' lives and demanding unquestioning obedience. During the 1980s, the dark side of the cult came to light when allegations of physical and psychological abuse and even murder emerged. These allegations eventually led to Roderil's arrest and imprisonment in 1989. In a grim turn of events, in 2011, Roderil met his end in prison at the hands of his cellmate, Matthew Gerard. Gerard, who was serving a life sentence for a separate crime, took justice into his own hands by stabbing Roderil. He confessed to the guards immediately after committing the act, with nothing left to lose,